they came back to Minnesota when Steve was about 6 months old in 1953. Then, in 1953, Carlene and David Everson were married. And after they were married, David still had another year or maybe 2 years to finish in college. He went up to the university in Duluth, so they lived up there. And all during that time we had a lot of company from Iowa, our relatives and a lot of friends that came to visit us. And so we really had a really busy time. And we attended the Glory Church once in a while, but not as often as we should have. Then in 1954, I worked at the turkey plant just for a part of a year, just because Darlene and Ken lived with us, and there didn't need to be 2 of us women in one house, so I went and worked at the turkey plant, and believe me, that was a hard job. I didn't yearn to go back the next year. During that year, Deanne was born in Duluth, and then later that year, Carla was born in 1954. And then Carlene and Dave went to Florida, where he was stationed in 1954. And Ken and his family moved to Glen, to a little house over there where they live. And while they lived there, Carla became very ill. And this was a very sad time for us because she was really not expected to live, and I'm surprised that she did because she really went through a lot. And she was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and it was just because of the wonderful doctors that were there and the fact that the hospital had just recently been built that she was able to still be living. So we must praise God that that happened and He made her get well. And then during these years, Grandpa and I used to go picking rice, and Ken and Darlene did that too, and it was just sort of like a fall picnic time that we met with our neighbors and took our boats and went to pick rice. And
this was wild rice.
It was wild rice.
Out on the lake. Can you tell a little bit how that was done?
Well, there was one person would pole the boat with a big long pole, and the other person had 2 sticks that they bent the rice over the boat. And
just like the Indians did it years ago.
Just like the Indians used to do it, and there were lots of Indians that went out and did that too. The rice was really a good price, and it was very easy if you could stick by it, and you could make $100 in a day, which at that time was a great deal of money. Then David, Carlene's David was born in 1960, and also that year, Karen was born first in May, and Davy in June. And at that time I went to North Carolina to take care of Deanne when Davy was born.
It must have been 1956. Wasn't Danny in 60? Davy and Karen should have been 56, right? Or 57?
1960, wasn't it? Isn't Karen just 30 this year?
Karen's only 2 years younger than I am.
And how much are you? Well, maybe I got that wrong, although I didn't think so. Well, I guess, Carla, you know how old you are. But just before that, Carl became interested in selling Christmas trees. And he bought Christmas trees from other growers, and then he also cut trees in our woods. He and Kenneth did. And he got interested in selling them. So throughout the rest of the years, we always sold some Christmas trees, either that we raised or bought. I thought that Danny was born in 1963, but evidently that wasn't the right year. I must have these dates wrong. And about that time, Carl started driving school bus, and which he did for quite a few years. And he always enjoyed seeing all the kids and getting the school bus out and going. And all during that time, we had lots of company and did lots of fishing and really enjoyed living in the North Country. In 1966, Ken and family moved to Jackson. And Carl continued with his tree farming and other farming, and also he went out buying pigs. Then, I believe in 1966, David was sent to, must have been 1966 that Danny was born. Must have been. Because see, he's younger than Davy, 3 years younger. And then David, I went down to North Carolina to take care of the children again when Danny was born. And then they flew home, and we brought their car and Deanne and Davy home with us in Dave and Carlene's car. Then in March of 1967, David was shot down over Vietnam, and he was flying a F-105 Thunder Chief and was shot down as he flew over Hanoi. Then he was taken a prisoner and had to be there in a prison camp for the next 6 years. He returned home in March of 1973. And in 1971 and 72,